Welcome to the Millionaire Mindcast, where we broadcast weekly interviews with millionaire minds from across the globe to empower you on your journey of unlocking a rich and fulfilling life. It's time to unleash your millionaire within. Now, here's your host, Matty A.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Millionaire Mindcast, a show that focuses on all things mindset, money, and motivation to help you increase your income, impact, and influence, and really whatever space it is that you're playing in. I take it that you found this podcast, you come back to this podcast because wealth building, lifestyle, freedom, something along those lines is what inspires you to continue to grow and move towards. And that's exactly what we focus on in this show. I'm your host, Matty A. As always, it's a pleasure to be here with you. And we have an amazing lineup heading into 2018. So depending on when you're listening to this, this is the kickoff episode of the relaunch of the Millionaire Mindcast for 2018. Some amazing guests for you guys, really expanded into many different industries and spaces and expertises that will help you define what your definition of a rich and fulfilling life is. And there's all kinds of people that you're going to be able to tune in and listen to extract, information and knowledge from their experiences, from their success journey. And that's what it's all about. Obviously applying what, resonates with you to your own journey, to your path to help you unleash that inner millionaire, to create that wealth, that lifestyle by design for yourself. So I'm really pumped for kicking off today's episode. If you don't know who I am, my name is Matty A, and I am the host of the Millionaire Mindcast. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employee, I cover all kinds of inspirational and informative topics that I believe are extremely important to be having conversations around, to be, moving towards for creating that healthy, wealthy, epic life. And the best way that I think we can do that is through the life hack of learning from other people, right? From masterminds, from podcasts, from conversations, whatever it may be. That's what we focus on here on the Millionaire Mindcast. So a big shout out to all the returning listeners who are coming back, who are ready to crush 2018. And if you're just checking out the show for the first time, I am really excited to be in your earbuds, in your stereo. Maybe you're taking the dog for a walk right now. Maybe you are listening to this in the gym while you're getting a sweat on, whatever it may be. I'm always appreciative and grateful. I can't wait to connect with you more in person here soon. But if you haven't done so already, I want to give you some free value, and feel free to download the top 50 millionaire recommended reads. It's a list that I've compiled from all of our, millionaire guests who share their favorite books, their favorite resources. And if you're looking for some new reading material, you can get that resource. All you have to do is text Millionaire Books. It's just one word, no spaces. Millionaire Books to 44222. So Millionaire Books, all one word, no spaces, to 44222, and you'll get those popped into your email, a cool little PDF, and you can check out what all of our millionaire guests are reading and recommending. All right, so today we got an awesome show. I don't want to waste any more time. It's a mentor, a friend of mine that I'm super glad came on the show, and you guys are in for a treat because he is a badass, a multi-millionaire, very, very successful. Paul Morris, he's a real estate investor. He is one of the larger brokerage owners in the Keller Williams, which is, a large name brand in the real estate space, regional owners. So he owns tons of real estate offices, and he was actually, named by Swan Poll, which is kind of this, essentially this list of power players in the real estate industry, in the real estate space, as one of the top 200 real estate influencers in all of the world. So Paul is an absolute badass, really smart guy. His story, his backstory before he even got into real estate is really cool. He's worked, in politics. He's done some things that I don't want to spoil it for you. He's going to share that in the episode. But most importantly, the guy knows how to create wealth. And he's got a very cool definition of wealth. He lives what he teaches and preaches, and he actually wrote a book with one of my mentors, one of our very first episodes of the Millionaire Mindcast, Mr. David Osborne, who is, very, very wealthy, beyond the $100 million mark. And they wrote a book together called Wealth Can't Wait, became a New York Times bestseller, and it focuses a lot about just that, the mindset, the principles, the disciplines to creating wealth early on, and that you should not be waiting to create wealth. You should be very strategic and intentional about it each and every day, and you can do that by doing some of these simple things that they talk about in the book. But through his work, as an author and a trainer, a business consultant, Paul now utilizes his vast experience of over 25 plus years in the space to bridge the gap between people and wealth, right? While most importantly, shifting their mindset to adopt, the mentality that it takes to create and achieve and have this kind of wealth. Because that's the thing that I believe is we're just missing some conversations, right? Maybe some conversations, some relationships, whatever it may be. And when we get access to these things, that's when life can get exciting. That's when life can get inspiring, and that can move you 1 degree, maybe to the left or to the right. That could put you on a new path to a newfound freedom that you may have never had before. So I'm excited for you guys to check out this show. You guys are gonna, really hear some insightful conversations around, Paul's first investment 25 years ago, and what, excited him about real estate investing. But really, more importantly, we talk a lot about the mindset and the mentality and the disciplines and habits. So I'm not going to spoil any of that for you guys right now, but you guys are in for a treat with Paul, and I don't want to waste any more time. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into today's show with Mr. Paul Morse right after these quick messages. One of the biggest mistakes most entrepreneurs and small businesses make, not staying on top of their finances and accounting. Can you relate? Well, thanks to FreshBooks, this part of your business doesn't have to be a thorn in your side any longer. I think we can all agree the working world has changed, and with the growth of the internet and today's new business landscape, more and more people are going into business for themselves, becoming small business owners and entrepreneurs. And FreshBooks is a premier accounting software that will simplify and organize all of these needs for you. FreshBooks and their all-new version of their cloud accounting software has been redesigned from the ground up and custom built for entrepreneurs and business owners just like you and I. It's ridiculously easy to use, and it's also packed with powerful features that make it so you no longer need to be a CPA or a financial guru to stay on top of your numbers. Whether you want to create and send professional-looking invoices in less than 30 seconds, set up online payments to get paid from your clients faster, tracking client invoices and accounting, the list goes on, FreshBooks has your name all over it. And the great thing is they're gracious enough to offer a 30-day unrestricted free trial to all my listeners. So go ahead and claim it. Just go to freshbooks.com/Mindcast and enter Millionaire Mindcast in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Have you been wanting to get a mentor but don't know where to start or how to find one? Then come check out the Millionaire Mentors Mastermind. 5 years ago, I was in the exact same boat. I wanted to take my life and my business to that next level, but the challenge was I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to be able to do that. Then one day, someone started telling me that if I wanted to accelerate my success, I needed to get a mentor. Well, fast forward to today, I've had many world-class mentors who have played a major role in my success and development over the years. Not only did my mentors help me hit my goals faster, they shared resources with me that I didn't have access to at the time. They helped me avoid the mistakes I most likely would have made without their guidance. They allowed me to tap into their network and build relationships with people that would have most likely taken years to develop. But most importantly, they inspired me to think bigger, get clearer, and held me accountable to taking action. Like Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to become a millionaire, then start surrounding yourself with other millionaires, right? If you want to have a successful business, surround yourself with other successful business owners that you can learn from. Whatever it is that you desire out of life, surrounding yourself with the right network of people who have the resources and experience that you lack at that time will be critical to your success. But here's the challenge. Most people don't know where to find a mentor or how to even gain access to them. Well, with the Millionaire Mentors Mastermind, that's no longer a challenge you have to worry about. Learn more at www.millionairementorsmastermind.com or text the word millionaire to 44222. That's millionairementorsmastermind.com or text the word millionaire to 44222. Now back to the show. Well, I'm excited to welcome into the show. This guy is somebody who took me to I would say it's my second favorite sushi restaurant on the planet, Uchi in Austin. But he's been a great mentor, a great friend, someone that I've looked up to and aspired to be like from many different levels, not just in the wealth building space, but great father, just an all-around great business owner and leader. Mr. Paul Morris, what's up, dude?
Yes. What's going on? Maddie, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. I see all the stuff you're doing and really, really impressed. So glad to be on your show and talk to your folks.
Well, you've got a lot of amazing things always going on. So I want to make sure that we get some time to just catch up and hear what those things are. But for, the average listener, someone that isn't familiar with you, your brand, your book, your accolades, who is Paul Morris?
Different person to different people, I think. I say that really in all honesty, and that is for the book and the stuff that I do, I really look at it as not prescriptive, meaning, hey, here's what you have to do in order to get where you want to go, but more of an invitation to people. So, invitation, conversation. Hey, this is what's worked for me. These are some things that haven't worked. Here's some struggles that I've had. Here's how I've overcome them. So I think the defining moment hasn't happened yet.
So that is, I like that view, that optimism of, dude, for you, and this is what I've learned about being around people like you and Osborne and just really top achievers is there is no mountain peak.
Yes.
You're always climbing, it seems like. Yeah. But you've got one thing I appreciate about you is you've gotten really good at enjoying the climb and being present on the climb, which I think is hard for a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, and people who want more, right?
That's correct. And it's so interesting that you say it that way, because one of the things that helps me with that is always learning. So having the idea that I learn every day, I can learn from anyone. I don't need to make the mistake in order to learn from it. I really try to pause. I look at something that happened to someone else and go like, wow, that's an eye opener. I don't want to be the person that has to happen to me in order for me to learn from it. For sure. One of the things you mentioned was, there just being no mountain peak. And I think that getting somewhere and looking at a mountain peak, so, that's my next stop. That's very useful, but thinking that's the be all and end all really is a prescription for disappointment. For example, we've had the pleasure of meeting, chatting, being friends with Ricky Williams, who was a phenomenal pro football player,
yep.
One of the best college football players ever. And one of the things that he said that struck me was, coming from the ghetto and where he came from, it was like having a nice car and having a bunch of money and having a nice place. And, there's sort of a few things that we all share that, especially the kid growing up, not in an affluent family. I shared that too. And then when he got there, one of the things that was like massively eye-opening was he got this is it.
Yeah.
And if you follow his career, we're just talking about mine, but if you follow his career, he had some ups and downs, and some of it can be explained just by that. Like, this is it. Like, this is like, I'm finally here, and this is the way I feel, and this is the way things are. And it's very disappointing. Right.
Yeah. Those have been some of the most interesting conversations I've ever had. And you know what? And I say that not as like a joke. I say it in the sense of to have someone who has explored the depths of those questions on the level that he's done it, someone who has amassed so much success, fame, power, all of the things that so many of the majority chase in life, to go, yeah, I've actually been there. I've done that, and I've explored the deepest, darkest depths of what that actually can provide, or invite or open up within us. And to say that it's not all that has been some really cool, enlightening, and very intriguing conversations. So I thank you for that introduction and being able to have dinner with you guys and just learn. it's been fun. And so that's just one person in your life that you've been able to brush shoulders with and to learn from, to be mentored by and mentor. And I love that you're always the player coach, where you're in the game, always looking to learn. You're always looking to give back. But for those people that don't know about kind of your professional journey and career, tell me, go back to the beginning a little bit before you had really gotten on this track of like really accumulating some great wealth and success in the space that you were in or transitioning into.
Sure. And there's one piece that actually ties back to what we just talked about and ties forward that I love, that I've sort of come to find. And that is, there's a saying that everybody has heard, and that's when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And what I figured out was that's not true. And here's what I mean by it. It appears to be true. But the truth as I see it is the teacher's always there. And when the student's ready, they're like, wow, holy mackerel, the teacher just showed up.
Right.
That guy was sitting next to you the whole time. That gal, that lesson was there for you to learn the whole time. So it really does start with you. And so when we're always looking for that outside thing to create that pivot, it does happen for us in life. It only happens to us when we're ready for it. And also it doesn't have to be a pivotal moment. As soon as we're ready to pivot, that pivotal moment happens. So I do think that's a good kickoff into my journey for sure.
Yeah. And before you dive into that, I like that you brought that, because I'm not sure if, people are familiar with your RAS or your reticular activating system, but it just kind of reminds me of tying into that saying in regards to, if you've ever bought a car or a new toy or, whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, my neighbor has that same car and my same exact route that I've been taking for 20 years to work. There's that billboard that's sitting right there. And I see them all over the freeway now. And like you said, those have always been there, but now your awareness, you've kind of opened the door and invited that opportunity or relationship or conversation or awareness into your life, which empowers you. I always say I'm a student of life and I'm always looking for my next teacher. And that's, that is such a great point, is to flip the script and say, it's not when you're ready that they show up. Yeah. They're always there. So are you ready?
Yes. Yep. I love it. I was doing I was just interviewed a couple of days ago and they were asking me for pivotal moments. I gave one of them, which I'll share with you. And then afterwards I sort of thought about it, said, there's really another pivotal moment. So I'd like to share them both with you, and you could pick anything out. It's not really what the pivotal moment was. It's sort of what I was ready for and what I was looking for. So when I grew up in Pittsburgh, definitely not in an affluent family. The key to success or getting out, I wanted out of Pittsburgh. I wanted out of that small time mindset more than anything. And the only way that I saw a way out was education. But before I saw that, one of the things that I did was I was a terrible student in high school, had a lot of fun. And the only school that would take me was my local school. And I went in as a provisional night student. And then what happened for more than 2 years, I spent time at school as a provisional night student, really not giving it very much attention or effort, the whole time telling the story to the school folks, well, I have a full-time job. I have to put myself through school. Not really true, by the way. And then when I was in my full-time job, which is working at a parking garage with my dad, I'd say, well, I can't do this, I can't do that because I'm a full-time student. So I was playing them off each other. I was creating a great system to accomplish very little. And then all of a sudden, I just sort of had this shake-up moment when my, partner in crime sort of went off the deep end. I was like, oh man, that could happen to me. And then I decided in a day, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a great student. I hadn't messed up my grades very much. I just hadn't accomplished much in school. And I remember I went into a college counselor and I was like, hey, I want to be a lawyer. And she had pulled up my transcripts and she was like, you better think about like paralegal or something. You're not going to get a law school in the country that would take you. And then, what happened after that was I created great academic success and actually went to Cornell Law School after I went to Oxford University on a scholarship. So, and people do talk about like, oh, that person that tells you you can't do it, becomes your motivator. actually not the case there. I just went like, I'm not listening to her. Next, I'm going to do my thing. And I went on and did it. Then, that took me through academics and a career and took me out of Pittsburgh. And then sort of another pivotal moment, really a career changing pivotal moment. The brass ring was you go to a great school and you have to also graduate in the top 10% of the class. And then you get the invitation to be at a big New York law firm, which for me was, not a good path. It's not an entrepreneurial path. We can get more into that later. And I remember there was an senior associate that sat next to me. I've told this story, 100 times. I'm not sure I've ever named him, but I'm going to name him now.
Oh, baby, we got a first.
Work now. He was a great guy. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Stephen Fabrizio, and he was next door to me, and he was probably at least 50% smarter and probably like 10 times harder working. So like that combination, I'm like, this is the ultimate, senior associate at a law firm. And after 8 years, they decide whether they're going to make you a partner in the law firm. And we were so certain he was going to make it. The other associates actually planned a party for him after they had this meeting behind closed doors. And a bunch of guys get behind there and go like, oh yeah, we'll invite him to be partner or not. And they came out and said, hey, Steve, we love you. You're great. Not this year, maybe next year. And we had literally planned a party for him. And we were like, he kind of went like, okay, yeah, next year or whatever. Within 2 months, his bags were packed. And I was only a second or third year associate. So I had another 5 years in the salt mine. And I looked over there and I was just like, the minute that he was not made partner, it made me ill. And not just out of empathy because I felt bad for him. It made me ill because I was like, this is not good for me.
Yeah, what do you got to do to get to earn partnership if this guy is crushing me on the ratings, right?
Right. And so I'm like, all right, and so 2 or 3 months later, his stuff was, it might have been 2 or 3 weeks later, his stuff was gone. And 2 or 3 months later, mine was gone. So a good example of, I was ready for that lesson. That lesson came. I was like, I'm out.
And so that kind of led you into what space? Where'd you go next?
Well, one of the things, is that a little bit of rich dad, poor dad, not really. The only wealthy guy that I knew was my dad's first cousin, and he just made a bunch of money in real estate over time. And I did see the lifestyle that he had. So even a law firm partner, that's fancy, but at the end of the day, you got to go into the salt mine and make it and grind it out. And I'm not averse to working purposefully and working intensely. I don't believe in hard work because I think it's only hard if you don't like it. A lot of hard work, not really what I'm interested in. And it was a lot of hard work at the law firm. So, I saw that entrepreneur, riding around in his car, checking out his property, looking at his new deal, and amassing a large fortune over time. So that was my key. I was like, you know what? I'm going to invest in real estate, find a way to do that.
So fast forward to today, you've been investing not only in real estate assets, you've been investing in real estate businesses and products and services and all kinds of, amazing things in this ecosystem. What was your first investment like in the space?
My first investment. So first of all, I've been investing for 25 years. I've never lost money on an investment. And I'm happy to sort of, that would be an interesting thing for your listeners for me to give you my 3 rules. It sounds amazing. I think if you follow the 3 rules, you can have that too. But my first investment was a good one. It was, I bought a duplex with a friend, great neighborhood, terrible property. We bought it at an auction. And it was not a lot of money, and we held on to it for a while, eventually rehabbed it, sold it to a friend, made a really nice profit. That friend converted it back out of a duplex into this beautiful single-family home. They still live there. So that was the first deal. It was a cool one. Most of them have been interesting and different and cool. Hey, will you turn off that heat?
So in regards to your first deal kind of leading into the second one, leading into some of the larger ones that you're in today, what does, what does that progression look like? Can someone just jump into the big deals and start creating massive wealth? Or is there kind of this journey, this progression as an entrepreneur, business owner, investor, whatever context you want to lay it over?
Okay, so that's an amazing question, because I believe that the way that I have done it is the more obvious one, and I think there's also another way to do it. So I'm interested in learning as well. So the way that I've done it is a linear progression. So you sort of start with, I've done a lot of buy and hold. I've done some buy and flip, but I've sort of been amassing this real estate portfolio. I now have 700 apartment units, 150,000 for retail. And it's really been over a long period of time and very linear. So the way that I did that was, I bought a duplex and, that worked out and I saved some more money. I used other people's money, and I did buy, it did, sort of jagged step. There were a couple of big deals in the middle, but I definitely sort of went to the 4s and 8s, and then eventually the 24s. I have my biggest project is 270 units. So, you move up for sure. And then I also found that when I was doing much bigger deals, that sometimes a 4 unit that I had that made a lot of sense, still a great deal. I'm like, it's just too far away from my other stuff, and I could create a good deal for somebody else getting into it. That's linear.
Yep.
I was interviewed on a podcast with a guy that was super interesting, Michael Blank. And I'm a lot further along in my journey than he is. He flew out to Beverly Hills to interview me, which I thought was super cool.
Nice.
He got one-on-one with me. And, and I think he was even, he was in a way, and I don't say that to congratulate myself, but he was in a way, I could tell he was in awe a little bit, and I got to tell you, when he told me what he does, I'm like, wow, I may be way ahead of the game from where he is now, but he is not doing this on a linear progression. He is going out, he's finding big deals right away. He's got the right investors. He's going about it the right way. I can't tell you whether he'll be successful or not because I'm not in his day-to-day that much, but he certainly had the right approach. It does not have to be linear. Now, that being said, I do believe, and it's one of the things we talk about in the book, is that the big idea, right, can stand in the way of people accomplishing things. You're like, oh, well, big idea. And when people come to me with a big idea, if it's a big idea that I love, the first thing I do is figure out how to do it in a real small way and see how that looks and feels, right? So like, oh, well, I've got a strategy to acquire all of these halfway houses, real thing that happened to me. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Yeah, and we get to meet in this boardroom with some important people and they want to do like 200 locations and, all this stuff. I'm like, hey, that's like, honestly, it really sounded great to me. I'm like, that sounds great. Let's start with one, and it's like, everybody's like, oh,
yeah.
I actually have to do some work,
Yep.
It's work to sit in the boardroom and say, hey, let's do the big thing. So I definitely, I'm sort of saying I did it in a linear way. I'm now sort of negative selling that exponential progression, saying, hey, take it small at first. But I really do think that you can do both. If I'm advising you or your listeners and also myself into my future, I would say, hey, yeah, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to build linear. I'm going to go from 700 units. It starts to grow, right? So I could add 500 units in one deal. It wouldn't be an astronomical acquisition for me. And my last acquisition was 275 units.
Right.
So, I could add 500 units, but I would look at a 5,000 unit deal. I wouldn't say no to that, but I'm not going to drop my linear progression to get there.
Right. And that's an interesting point. I like to call those small bets. It's easy for you to make the big bet and go, man, we're going to, crush and do X amount of deals this year. I'm going to go from 0 to 50 or whatever. But why not going from 0 to 1 first, or 0 to execution on whatever that strategy is scaled down, which is a great small bet because then you're not betting the house. You're not tying up all your energy, your resources, your, mental capacity into something so big. And by the small bet getting accomplished, one, you prove the concept, and two, you actually give yourself kind of that positive injection or jolt in your psychology of, okay, I can do this. Like we got proof of concept, proof of model, whatever you want to call it, and taking it to that next level. So I like that you highlight that, because no matter where you're at in your investing journey, being as deep in as you're at, you're saying, it's still good to go into those small bets and chunk it down and then figure out scale from there.
Yes. Yep.
So you and Dro actually taught me this concept a while back. And I thought it was funny that you said, Michael Blank might have been in awe when he was, because I remember the first time I met you in Tahoe at our Go Abundance Millionaire Mastermind event. And that time, I think it was not a ton of people the first time I met you. Or it might have been at Osborne's house in Steamboat where there was maybe 15 of us. I was in awe being around someone like you who was just so normal. Very intelligent, obviously, and very calculated in what you do, but to see how much success you've amassed and then to just go, hey, this guy's just like me. That's why I love these conversations and interviews, because it gave me permission to dream that big and know that I can still be myself and not have to do all these things we think we have to sacrifice in order to get it. So what would you say now, looking back on your journey, has, been some of your greatest mindset habits or disciplines that continue to just serve you in staying humble, staying grounded, but staying very purposeful in what you do?
So, as I look back in small doses, if I look at any part of my life in small doses, I feel very undisciplined. So you've got somebody that's, if you're feeling, you or your listeners out there are feeling very undisciplined, I get that. I still very much feel that way. I still go through a day and feel like I could have accomplished more. When I'm really under the gun, I get so much done. And at the end of those days, I don't feel like I could have done more. But most days, I could do more. And I'm procrastinating a little bit and doing some stuff that's less than my 20%. So it's a human journey. And yet there's a thing that I just call a virtuous cycle. Most people are very familiar with a vicious cycle, and a vicious cycle is, you just sort of do one kind of bad thing after another, after, one bad decision leads to another, and then there's the concept of gradually then suddenly. And so when you look up, you're like, oh, well, he has 700 apartment units, that's gradually then suddenly. It didn't happen overnight, but all that building took time for sure.
Yeah.
So it is the discipline of starting every day at zero and really, I think, loving what I do and having a passion for what I do, moves me forward. Having great folks around me, surrounding myself with people who are get it done people and not people that are talk about it people, very, very moving. So that's what's done it for me over time. I've come to value execution over the great plan. People that just do it, they're just a lot further along in the game than people that are calculating every step.
What have been, I know you're really tied into some of the big influencers in your community of LA, as well as Austin, as well as really all around the country. What have been some of your greatest success stories or moments in the sense of how your relationships have tied into the growth of your success and your wealth?
So, one of the words I use is, and I think about is curate. It's not a word. It's funny because I felt like saying it's not a word that I really use out in public, even though obviously we're in a public format, and I appreciate it. I want to share it. It's not what I would share at a cocktail party. I think like-minded people on a podcast like this get it. You curate, and it's from all angles. You curate your life experience. You really can control the way your brain works. Starting from in the morning, what do I do when I wake up? What do I look at? What do I see? I see right behind you, very influential people. Up on a board. If you have that, just that alone is a big deal. You've got stuff written on the other side on a board. It's keeping you in alignment with the things you want to do. Just having a purposeful life. Now, being around people who complain a lot, who don't take responsibility a lot, drain my energy.
Yep.
There's some part of all of our brains and psyches that just want to go to that lack of accountability place. And it's taken me years to really cultivate a take responsibility for everything. And that, it's way more than just a plus side. It's a plus minus. So the great thing is I get to take credit for everything good that's happened in my life. And that's a practice too, because people are like, oh yeah, that was easy, or, oh yeah, I had help, or I was lucky. I've heard David say, how lucky he's been, and sure he has been, and so have I, and so has everybody. And, David, I'm sure has been unlucky, as have I, and as has everybody. And so just taking responsibility, saying, yeah, the reason why all that great stuff is happening in my life is because of me. And then any setback, you got to go, you know what? I had something to do with that. Your DNA, your fingerprints are on every part of your existence. And so as wonderful as it is, as terrible it is as it is, it's your doing. And the great news is that means you can change it.
Yeah.
So who you hang out with is a big deal. And I cut out and include, I cut out more negative people and include more positive people. It doesn't necessarily have to be about money. It can be, if you're around 10 people that are in great shape, the chance of you, eating the donut, which I had last night, I'm starting 100 today is day 2 in a 100-day challenge. We didn't have a diet restriction. I'm like, hey, they didn't think of the diet restriction. I'm gonna have the donut. So I have fun with it, but it's definitely about who you surround yourself with. And that's a daily choice.
I love that you just highlight the fact that we're talking about, taking ownership for everything in your life, whether it's positive or not positive. But ultimately, the underlying theme of what I see there is staying in an empowered position versus becoming a victim. And I think that's where a lot of people slip to, is by not taking ownership, whether it's something that you effed up on and have specific DNA on or not, making the choice to take ownership of it, stay in a power position, and move forward in the way that you can, make that next right decision, moving forward. And part of that, like you said, plays back into your tribe and the people you surround yourself with. So, as you've continued to expand your network and your community, you've become friends with some pretty amazing individuals that are accountability partners, that are business partners for you. One being our great friend, Mr. David Osborne. And you guys wrote, in my opinion, a life-changing book for a lot of people that have never been exposed to these conversations. So tell us a little bit more about Wealth Can't Wait and what the book's all about.
Sure. The idea came from, David and I are in a business that's the same. Part of what we do is the same, and that's the real estate brokerage business. And one of the things that I was already doing was investing. So I had lower income and still had a higher wealth than a lot of the realtors that when I first started in this business. So, we had realtors making, over $1 million a year. I was not at that time. And the realtors that were making that much money had very little wealth. I had significantly more wealth than them while earning less money. So I realized that I had something to offer them. And I could learn sales really well, and I could teach sales training classes, and I do that. But my gift to that industry was building wealth. And so that's where I started the curriculum, and David and I got together on that. It was amazing how I view our journeys as different, and we came really to the same place at the same time. And his was because his dad had died and he really felt a need to leave a legacy. Not the case for me. And yet we really had the sense that there's a mindset piece to it. There's an execution piece to it. And then there's a keep it going or momentum piece to it. And very much in alignment on that. And I would have said 10 years ago that, the mindset, like, what are you talking about? And now I believe it's the most important part. And I think David would agree. And that's the reason why it's the first piece in our book. one of the things that I've said over and over is your net worth will never exceed your self-worth. So, making that pivot, and, the people you surround yourself with, talking negative talk or positive talk, taking responsibility, something we've talked about. These are the things that will really propel you. And that's the first part of the book, is really mindset. And then also, just taking time to reflect on your business. A lot of folks are amazing hard workers. And Dave and I call that ground game. And then air game is when you step away from your business and really view your business as a company. Yeah. And we call that air game. It can be one purposeful hour a month. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, but just setting that aside. I do it now with a business coach. I'm going to have a meeting with my business coach today. We're all air game when I'm with a business coach.
You guys have honestly been two of my greatest wealth mentors. And I say that because you guys invited me into the conversation that I knew was out there, but there was a lot of things that I didn't know that I didn't know at that stage in the game. And two, these are just missing conversations that now with technology, these conversations that have been in boardrooms, that have been behind closed doors, that have been in private, meeting rooms, are now becoming more accessible to anybody through podcasts and through education and through books and courses and all of these things now, which is why I love how the internet is changing this education landscape. But you guys invited me into that conversation and allowed me to grow into it. And so I'm forever grateful for that. And I like that you highlighted the fact that, because this is one thing you guys helped me wrap my head around, was the fact that if you want to be an entrepreneur or business owner, you can do that. But there are the majority who fall into owning a job instead of actually owning a business and funding the lifestyle that they want to. And so the fact that you guys talk about the air game and the ground game in the book, I really love that, because it reminds me of something that I've always been a competitor and in sports, and I like to win, which I think most listeners and people who want more do, is the fact that it's a game. And if you learn the strategies and you learn the systems and you learn how to play the game at a really high level with the people that are in your landscape or in your space, and what those, how those all tie together, if you execute on that strategy well enough, you're going to succeed in business, and it's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun while you do it too. And that was one piece of the book that I've heard you guys talk about it so many times, and yet it really hit home for me again after reading it. What are some of the other things that you have seen readers really take to? And then as a follow-up to that, what's one thing that you think not enough people are talking about that's in the book?
Sure. So, that's the first question is a tough one, because it really is, the book is different things to different people.
Right.
And when I read the comments, I just get blown away to the point where, it makes me nervous, and Dave and I'll, oh, did you see that one comment? Or we'll bump into somebody like, oh, I've been waiting tables for 10 years. I read your book and I went out and I bought this duplex and now I'm starting this business. And David and I are like, oh, boy, we won't be able to come back to this restaurant, So, we along with the success of the book, I had an unexpected, I was going to say weird, but I had an unexpected reaction. We wanted it to be a New York Times bestseller. We weren't sure that was going to happen. When it happened, somebody asked me in an interview, hey, the book hit the list yesterday. How do you feel? And when put on the spot, I generally just tell the truth. I was thinking, I wanted to say like excited and happy. And, and I was like, well, what do I really feel? I feel like a weird sense of responsibility, and it took me by surprise, and I had to really think through it. And I think it's just because, we've got this platform, and now it's, what do we do with the platform? And I think there's a responsibility along with it. And when I read the comments, now I understand why I felt responsible in that moment. So different things to different people. One of the things, it's the mindset really is to get into action. And, David and I don't guarantee an outcome for sure, but we know we don't guarantee a particular outcome, But I definitely guarantee you take action, I guarantee an outcome. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. It's going to be mediocre. It's going to be terrible. I can't guarantee what outcome it is, but you'll get an outcome. Now, if you're resilient enough to go like, wow, it was pretty good, not what I'd hoped for, you can go back and say, well, what could I have done differently? To answer the second part of your question, I think is really a fabulous question. And I always take it for myself, like what's the conversation that more folks should be having?
Right.
And so I take it as what's the conversation that I should be having? And so, anytime we want it to be different, and I'm a person that always wants to be different, right? So I don't get to that mountaintop and be like, what a letdown. I thought this was the be all and end all. I already know because I've listened to other smart people and they're like, yeah, we got to the top of that mountain. We were so disappointed,
Yeah, right.
so long, and I'm like, wow, I'm enjoying the journey. Like you said, that was a lesson. And I get to the mountain, I'm like, this is cool. And I knew it wasn't going to be the be all and end all. So let's carry on here. So I want it to be different. And then the question really is, what do I do to be the person, right, that has this different outcome? And so it's all the way back to making it about my responsibility. So one of the great things you said is you're like, oh, hey, and it's very inspiring to hear you say it, like, oh, I was not in these conversations and now I'm in these conversations. You said some of it's the internet, but a lot of it's not. You're having these conversations in person.
Right.
And so to anybody who's outside of that conversation, and by the way, I'm in great conversations and I can promise you I'm outside of a lot of really great conversations. Warren Buffett is not calling me and saying like, hey, Paul, you got to hear this, right? But he is calling somebody, okay? And so you can blame the circumstances. Here's why Warren Buffett's not calling me. Here's why I'm not in these super cool conversations. And you can find lots of reasons. It's not going to help you very much. So my question is, what could I do or be different to cause whatever? What can I do or be different to be in the conversation with Warren Buffett? I never asked that question before. Now I'm asking it. And by the way, here's another cool thing. You don't have to have an answer. If I had an answer, I'd just go ahead and do it. And the phone Warren would be on the other line, other end of the call. That's okay. The question is important. So what could I do or be different to be in conversation with super smart people? And when I have that sort of thing in mind, it's weird. It's around the holidays. I'm having a holiday party. Some people are invited and some people aren't. And I got a call from a guy. I just won't get too much into it, otherwise they'll see the podcast and hate mail. I called the guy. He's like, hey, I'm surprised I wasn't invited to, Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking, and I didn't have the nerve in the moment, but, if I were sitting down with that person, I would say, if you're not, and I'm talking to myself, so I don't have to talk to that person, okay? I don't have to make that person wrong. Let's just use me. If I'm not at the table that I want to be at, it's because I'm not being the person who they want at that table. Now, here's the other thing. I might say, well, what person do I have to be at that table? And I may go through my mind of what that is. And I may say, I don't really want to be that person.
Right.
And that's okay too. Yeah. But don't be surprised when you don't get the invite, Yeah. And so that's what it is. And so I do my best. I'm good. I'm really good at it. It's certainly not a perfect science, but I do my best to be of contribution to people that I really want more in my life. The first question I ask is, how do I contribute to them? And guess what? It's not because I have all this like do good in my heart. I'm trying to figure out, how do I be the person who they want at their table? And the answer is like, wow, that Paul has good insight on X, Y, or Z. So a group that I'm in, that David's in, Tiger 21, fabulous group. requires a significant amount of net worth and income to be in the group. And, I'm there easily, and still in LA, I'm the lowest guy in the room. We're very close to it. These guys are super wealthy. And there's certain things that we talk about, and I have to say it's mindset stuff. So there are guys guy's worth $600 million and he's got an issue and and they'll pivot around. I've been in the group for a year and a half. They'll pivot around and be like, Paul, what do you have to say about that? Because they're interested in my version of the mindset piece, and that's what I give to that group.
I love that. The perspective piece is a big part of it, and asking yourself the right questions will often determine or dictate your perspective or the set of lenses that you see life through, which becomes your reality, which, empowers how you take action and what kind of results you get and reaffirms your thinking. And so I love that you bring attention to that. And, it reminds me to constantly go back to asking the right questions every day, or am I asking myself and or others around me the right questions? And, for the case of that guy, right? Maybe he needs to ask himself, what do I need to do or be different in order to get that invite? But like you said, I love the perspective part of, he may ask that question and go, maybe I don't want to be that person that I need to be in order to get that invite. And that goes for any context of life, whether it's in a personal relationship or a business opportunity.
Yeah. And it's because I just think it's a funny place to look at it. And it's it's self-deprecating in a way. It's easy to talk about. And maybe the answer for that guy in that question is like, if I laughed at more of Paul's jokes, he might want me there. Cause I just sit there and these people, they all laugh at his jokes and he's just not that funny, but I think if I laughed at his stupid jokes, they'd invite me, and he'd go, you know what? He's not that funny. I'm just not going to laugh at his jokes. Then he might go, maybe I don't even want to be there.
Yeah.
And the opposite is he's going to guilt me into an invite. He's going to come. And when everybody's laughing at my dumb joke, he's going to be like, dude, that's not that funny. I'd be like, right. That's why you're not.
That's why you weren't invited.
It's just like, I'm not the arbiter of what's interesting or cool, and neither is he.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, let's get into a conversation that's good for all of us. And so in a way, I've moved the victim voice out of my vocabulary. And guess what? I'm on a journey still. It's not 100% gone. I've done a great job with it. Guess what I'm doing now? I'm moving the victim voice out of my guests to the table. And that's the metaphorical table. I don't mean a holiday table. I mean my business table. I mean my friendship table. I'm clearing the decks on that,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Cause I think, one that takes balls, that takes grit, that takes, a willingness to be uncomfortable and choose your environment, your energy, your ability to architect and design exactly what that looks like over how you think you're going to make other people feel, which is a tough thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing that, and I'll tell you what makes it easier, because I think it's so important. And why did it take me 52 years to get to a point where I'm really doing it? Is I get too significant on it. And what I mean by that is I start to think like, well, if I don't like John, then, that's going to hurt John. And, it's like, it's setting me up as if like I'm the be all and end all. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's getting rid of the significance on my own. And then the other thing is, to think that my dinner table is where he really needs to be or whatever. It's like, he'll find a place that's, I'm not going to take responsibility for the outcome that has on him, because at the end of the day, it may help him if he's ready to learn. The teacher will appear, or it may not help him. It doesn't matter. And like I said, I've let go of the fact of right and wrong in that. So I know that I'm not right. And I know that he's not wrong, and vice versa. I also know he's not right and I'm not wrong. It's the way it is,
It's great perspective right there. So in regards to where you're at right now, a lot of people would look at you if they knew your true net worth, your numbers, and everything that you've built and your lifestyle, and go, man, that's enough for me. But there's something special about you that continues to not necessarily have you chasing a number, but more impact or more service or more of a platform. So what is next for Mr. Paul Morse?
It's back to that conversation. I've been sort of morphing the conversation and getting to this. This just sounds weird, but getting to a place of more self-service is the way that I get to serve others with the greatest passion and impact. So in any time that I catch myself using an obligatory language, like, oh, I have to do this, or it just wiped out of my vocabulary. I don't have to do anything.
Yep.
Almost all of us, we don't have to do. We think we have to, but we don't. So just wipe that out and put instead, I choose this. So I'm really, I think it's an interesting place, and it's why I love that you're doing this podcast. And I hope that a lot of people are ready for the message. And if they are, it's that invitation. And I hope some folks are way younger than 52, and it'd be okay if somebody was 72.
Yep.
This is to say, choose it. And when I say choose it, I mean, choose your destiny. Don't apologize for it. Don't think that what you want is any less valid than anything else. Reach deep in your heart and say, what do I want? And go for it. And you can, in doing that, I can do amazing things for people. So it's just all consistent with that. Is I'm not interested in helping the unwilling become willing. I'm not interested in that. That's too much work. That's and again, now that I have that, it's like, oh, I'm driving this car. I'm driving a new car, right? You mentioned it. Now it's like, wow, I see this car. I see this car everywhere, And my partner is in her second career, and her second career is as a therapist. And she used this term the other day. She's like, I'm not going to do more work than my client. So in other words, client comes to her and says like, oh, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And she'll go, okay, well, have you thought of this? Can you try this? And they come back next time, they haven't done any of it. And she's rolling up her sleeves, and she's like, I'm good. I'm not going to work harder than my client. And I'm like, okay. So that's that lesson that's always been there. Maybe she said that to me 40 times before. Now I finally heard it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in helping the unwilling become willing, but when somebody's really willing and they're like, I'm on it, I'm in, let's do this. Like, I need some direction. I'm like, okay, let's get on that, right?
Yep.
Let's get together. And then what that does for me is that pulls me forward. That gives me energy. And that's what I get out of it. So I really want to give to people who are going to pull me and energize me. And just taking more time and care in curating that experience.
Yeah, it's funny because oftentimes I think there's this misconception that these successful, wealthy people never have enough time. They don't want to help anybody but themselves or pad their bank account or their pockets. And what I found through interviewing people that are ultra successful, being in mastermind groups like Go Abundance with people like you and David and all of your, our friends, and just running in other circles, is they give a crap and they really actually do want to help people. But because of their success and the platform that they are on, there's a lot of energy vampires and time suckers who really just want, they want the magic bullet. They don't want to necessarily put in the work. And you guys and the individuals at that level do want to serve at the highest level, but you only want to serve the people that want to serve themselves and want to show up for themselves. And so I love that you highlighted that, because it's so freaking true.
And it's true. It's true of all of us. In the space that I have, which is a real estate brokerage space, I'm regional director. The 3 regions that I run have 10,000 realtors. In the offices that I have ownership in, over 3,000 realtors in the ones that I have ownership in. So, how many of those 3,000 realtors or how many of those 10,000 realtors are like, hey, yeah, we'd love to have lunch with Paul or whatever. It's unlimited.
Right.
I couldn't have enough lunch slots to fill that demand. And yet I'm not really interested, sorry to say, but what is it that interests me? And I taught my wealth building class to top agents for an office that asked me to come down there. And these folks are doers. And one person who was new to one of the teams who had I didn't know this, but he had a real life-changing situation. He was asking like super smart, but not just smart, but just very honest and raw questions. And I could see him kind of I go like, wow, that guy, it's not just smart, there's something there. And he was kind of lingering away to tell everybody left. And then I sat down with him. He's like, yeah, I've got all these questions. I don't want to get into his personal stuff. But I spent like 2 hours with him after the class because I found it so rewarding, because he's not a big and fancy realtor, right? But he really was at a place in his life where he's ready to pivot. And the stuff that I was telling him, I felt like could be really well used.
Yep.
Very interesting for me.
Yep. And I think that's the power of mentors and people like having you in my life, other amazing mentors, and whoever's listening to this, I'm sure can relate, is oftentimes, and I'm not going to speak for that guy, but great mentors who see something in you often lend their belief in you that at those point in times, you may not have it in yourself, or that you need that extra boost in confidence. And so that's where just that alone, having that environment, the right environment or tribe around you to have, that could be the 1 degree of separation that puts you on a completely new path and changes your whole life.
Yes.
And for me, I can pinpoint that going back to David Osborne's house in August of 2013, when I walked into that room of, guys like yourself and started having some conversations. And that was that completely new track that I put myself on, because at that point in time, people lended a belief in me that I didn't really see in myself yet. So just the power of mentorship, the power of people, all ties back into your wealth. And I also like that you highlighted is you did that because it wasn't going to get you a tangible ROI and making you more money. This was an ROI on your time. This was an ROI on your effort. And I think that's one thing that a lot of wealthy people understand as well, is wealth is not just money. Wealth is a completely, different currency with many different definitions. And when you get an ROI on your time and see the ripple effect that can have in not only that individual's life, but maybe the people that end up working for him, or the office or marketplace that he's in, all kinds of things, the community. That's the ROI that I see a lot of wealthy people chasing now.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things I love to do is, the more times during a conversation like this that I can give, some concrete advice, and somebody will take out a pen and go, okay, I can use that. I've got one for you.
Lay it on us.
And so this is a script that I would use to get a mentor. It's very basic. It's, what would it take to earn the right? So,
Ooh.
You go and you meet somebody, you go, hey, like, I've listened to your talk and it's absolutely phenomenal. And, maybe there's 500 people in the room, but probably only 5 or 10 are going to go up to that person after the talk. And guess what it feels like to that person? See, here's what happens. That person, Dave and I went to see Sam Zell. Sam Zell, multi-billionaire real estate guy. We saw Tom Barak. We went up to Tom Barak and Sam Zell afterwards and just listen to what the other people are saying. Sam Zell just talked for an hour and a half about his journey. Super interesting. He's a multi-billionaire, right? Now there's 6 guys in front of me, and what they want to do is they want to say, Sam, let me tell you about me, right? And it's boring for me to listen to, and I'm behind them, and my story's not really, their story's as cool as mine or better. And it's boring for me to listen to.
Right.
Sam Zell, and I've given that talk where people just come up to you and they're like, oh, so let me tell you what happened to me. And I'm like,
yeah, they want to justify being in the conversation.
And I'm just like, and it's okay, right? But if you go, hey, I was totally touched by what you said, and there's this one point that, that you said really resonated with me, and here's another thing, I really found that useful. And I just like to know, what would it take to earn the right to take you out to coffee? And I've not gotten a no to that. That doesn't mean, that I won't in the future. And it's a way, because now I'm coming at it with a contribution. And then when I go to that meeting, I've got all my questions listed out. That billionaire doesn't want to hear my journey, but definitely interested in how his journey might impact mine. So, okay, hey, Sam, I did a bunch of research. Here's a question for you. I got this question. It's the way John Maxwell interviewed, the name's gonna elude me, but it's the UCL John Wooden, right?
Oh, yep.
John Maxwell used to go on visit with John Wooden once a year, and John Wooden's a busy dude, and he'd go have his yellow paper, he'd have his yellow pad, and have all the questions out. He knew he had an hour. He'd be like, "Hi, Mr. Wooden, how are you?" "Oh, good. Okay, so let me get to my first question." And John Wooden's like, "Yes, bring it on." That's not boring for John Wooden. And John Maxwell's maximizing that time. So that's my advice to people that, want to get in that conversation. What do I need to do or be different to cause conversations with great people to happen? And I always throw in with ease at the end of my goals, because I'm looking for the answer to come without a lot of time in the salt mine. So I throw that in. You can add that as a thing to do. And that's the answer to the question is what would it take to earn the right? Maddie, what would it take to earn the right for us to have coffee and I could pick your brain about some of the cool stuff you're doing?
It's such a golden script, and it's not a yes or no answer, right? It really makes the person go back and think and go, all right, well, what do I respond with this? What would really, earn the right to be, for me to justify taking time away from my business, my family, all the other things that they have going on in their life. So really that's the gold nugget of the interview here today. Hey, Paul, it's been honestly a complete honor to have this conversation with you. I could, if I could get a dose of these every single day, who knows what would be possible, but we got a great, hour interview today for all the people in the community that are, marching towards that millionaire mark or beyond. And I always love to, ask as a final wrap-up question, what does wealth mean to you?
So it's something I've given a lot of thought to, and it's freedom, the power to choose and create.
Freedom, the power to choose and create whatever it is that your heart desires.
Yeah, very simple. Choose is like, hey, I want to do, here's the thing. Does it sound super selfish? Doesn't matter, right? I've learned that. Doesn't matter. What do I really want? Hey, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. Wow. Sounds like, you're a spoiled, rotten kid. Well, you don't know, maybe it's spilled wells in Africa. I don't know. So I want to be able to choose what I want to do when I want to do it. That's freedom. That's the power to choose.
Yep.
And I love creation. I love starting businesses. I love starting conversations. I love starting whatever. So it's the power to choose and create.
Paul, you are the man, brother. I got a lot of love for you as always. For those that want to follow you, connect with you on social media, check out the book. We'll obviously have all the links in the show notes to the book, leaving a review on Amazon, all that good stuff. But if they do want to connect with you elsewhere, what is the best place for them to do that?
So first of all, thanks for your energy, Maddie. I mean, I've done so many of these and I so look forward. It's like a conversation with an old friend. I really, really appreciate the energy. The quality of the interviewer it determines the quality of the interview a lot. So I appreciate that and acknowledge you for it and the time and effort and energy. I'm sort of curating, as I said. So one of the things, if any listener of yours comes on and Facebook friend requests me and you put, hey, saw you on Maddie's podcast, I'll go in and accept the friend request because I've got 5,000 friends, but I'm looking to get rid of the ones that are dragging along and get, folks like your listeners at the top of the list. And then my social media handles are about the same across the board. It's at Paul Mark, M-A-R-K, Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn through that. And the book's available on Amazon. If you've already read the book, if you love the book, give us a 5-star review, bro. I love it.
Fantastic.
And yeah, reach out, send me some questions or whatever. I love to answer. See your listeners on Facebook because I'm going to cut the dead weight out and add your.
There we go. Get those engaged individuals looking to pour into themselves, their wealth, their health, their life, all that good stuff. You guys heard it here from Mr. Paul Morris. Be sure to check out the show notes. All the links will be available in there. Paul, as always, love you, man. Cheers.
Thanks. You too.
Well, that does it for today's show. I don't know. What do you guys think? Pretty badass episode to start off the new year, right? And, this is the time of year when most people are inspired and are motivated. And oftentimes, right, 2 weeks in, statistics show that all the goals, all the New Year's resolutions get thrown to the wayside and people fall back into their old habits, their old mindset, their old mentality, and therefore they get the same results over and over again. So hopefully today you have a list full of notes like I do, and you were able to pick and pull a few things that you maybe want to start, or maybe that you want to stop, or maybe that you want to continue doing, being affirmed by some of the stuff that Paul might have said that is going to continue moving you forward towards the life, towards the goals, towards the reality of what it is that you are looking to create. So whatever those things are, put them into action, get clear on them, get purposeful about them, throw some accountability around them, maybe share them inside the Millionaire Mindcast Facebook group. If you're not out there, feel free to just search, Millionaire in the Making on Facebook. One of our admin will add you into the group. We got people from all walks of life, all across the world, who are in different industries and different spaces, but we all share the same mindset, right? And are intentionally moving towards creating our own definition of a wealthy, healthy, and legendary life. So check it out on Facebook. I invite you guys to join us there. And if you guys want more business checklists, tools, investing resources, we're constantly adding new material, new free content on the website, mattaitchison.com or millionairemindcast.com. You can always check those things out. And if you guys are interested in really building wealth specifically through real estate, obviously we had some conversations on the industry and in the space today. The Six Figure Flipper and community is open and available to anybody who's interested in learning how to flip houses, how to find them, how to fund them, how to either dispose of them or even to hold them, right, for passive income long term. But most importantly, how to generate these kind of opportunities and create more wealth through real estate. You can get more information over at sixfigureflipper.com. That's the number 6figureflipper.com, or you can just text 6-figure-flipper, all one word. That's the number 6-figure-flipper, no spaces, to 44222. And last, if you guys haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, we're putting out all kinds of entrepreneurial content. We are, basically filming anything and everything right now, and going to be putting out a lot of motivational, inspirational, and actionable stuff, as well as having some fun, right? It's all about having fun and enjoying life. So feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where we're releasing weekly content for you guys. Would love to connect with you there. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment below in the comment section. Let us know one thing that you liked about the episode. Feel free to share this episode with anybody. This is how we continue to grow, is through people like you who want to continue expanding this conversation and to create more awareness for yourself, for other people in your community, for the people that you care about. So feel free to share this. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the show yet. We got some fire episodes coming up for you guys. So I'm really excited for this season of the Millionaire Mindcast. 2018 is going to be epic. It is definitely going to be the best year ever. I look forward to being a part of your journey. And don't forget, right? As always, keep investing in yourself. And therefore, right, you're going to keep expanding your wealth. Keep investing in yourself. Keep investing in your wealth. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Cheers.